ladies and gentlemen, this is Verity Seeker, and I'm your host, Mark Powls. And our guest today is Charlotte O'Hara, running for Kansas governor. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Okay, I got to ask you this up front. Do you actually file right away, or is this just an announcement?
This is the first step. I have registered a treasurer. And so we are in the process of raising money and getting out there. And I've already had one listening tour in Western Kansas,
Okay.
9-day tour, and that went really well. And I'm heading back out to Ulysses, Kansas on the 7th. I'll be out there April 8th to address a Rotary meeting. And so it's just, basically what I'm doing right now is I'm on a listening tour. I want to hear what people, their concerns, and I want to be listening to the entire state. Okay. So that's a big job. It is. It's a big job. And but that's what I'm doing at this point.
Okay. Here's my next most important question. Why in the world would Charlotte O'Hara want to sacrifice her life for a year and a half, going all over the state of Kansas to seek the office of Kansas governor?
Well, it's really not a sacrifice. It's quite an honor to be able to go out and visit with folks and to listen and to let people know that there's actually someone who cares about their lives. Because unfortunately, our political system as it is now is that it's the top tier, the big guys. They're the ones that get all of the attention. The royals coming into Johnson County, maybe, Panasonic. I mean, all of these huge projects, and the rest of us are just left in the dust. Mm-hmm. And with all of those tax incentives that go into these projects, it's costing each and every one of us money, because if they don't pay their fair share of taxes, we have to make it up.
Yeah, and oftentimes they get the incentives.
Oh, they get huge incentives, and
Right.
We can go into that. We can talk about a Chinese company in New Century Airport outside of Gardner that's paying only 30 cents a square foot for their property taxes on a brand new building. 30 cents a square foot, a 2,000 square foot house, that'd be $600 a year.
Who is Charlotte O'Hara? For the person out there, like in my area here of Garnett, Kansas, who have never heard your name before, who is Charlotte O'Hara?
Well, it's really interesting. In Johnson County, when anyone says my name, the first thing is, oh my gosh, the conservative. And so the conservatives in Johnson County love that. The liberals in Johnson County run. And they absolutely, I keep telling people that I disagree with. I said, honestly, if we sit down and have a conversation, we will find points that we can agree on.
Yeah.
But they don't want to engage in those types of conversations. But so I'm very well known in Johnson County. And the interesting thing is that I was raised not that far from Garnett. I was raised down in Bourbon County on the Osage River, close to Mapleton, in the shadow of Guthrie's Mound.
Yeah, okay. I'm sort of familiar with that territory there. I taught music for
in
2 years
Uniontown.
in Uniontown.
Right. Uniontown is where I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And that is, the farm that I was raised on is 2 miles east and 7 miles north of Uniontown.
Okay.
Starting at 54 Highway.
Okay.
The new one, not the old one.
Okay, yeah, things have changed. So you grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Okay. And now, how much can you say about your family?
Hardworking, successful small farmer. It was a family business. I learned equal opportunity at the age of 8, leaning into the flank of a black Holstein cow. Everyone was an important part of the farm. And I have 3 older brothers. I actually wanted to stay and run the farm, but my dad said no, not that he was not in favor of that. So off to other things.
Yeah. Well, there was a period of time there where a small farm could succeed, and it was I'm not saying easier. I'm just saying that the environment was.
They've incentivized the very large farmers, and I have friends who have very large acreages that they farm, and it's an entirely different type of life now in the rural communities. I mean, before the small farms, that's what was supporting the small towns. And so with the consolidation of all these farms, well, then you don't have those farm families, and so therefore the small towns have. I mean, they just dying, and it's really sad to watch. But I was one of the last in the generation to go through the experience of a small farm. I actually went to school in a one-room country school.
Wow.
So I was raised extremely rural, one-room country school, one-room country church. I mean, and it was very, very, very rural. So no, I was born in 1951.
Okay. Well, that's not old. Come on. Okay.
It is seasoned.
Yeah, and when you talk one room schoolhouse and all that, especially when
You think someone's 90.
yeah 90, 95.
Right. No,
yeah.
no. This is a little pocket in southeast Kansas that was able to maintain that one-room school. And actually, when my dad was going to school, there were like 3 or 4 one-room schools in that same area. And then when I was going through school, there was only one.
Okay.
And then we fed into the big metropolis of Uniontown.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, therefore, the difference between country kids and townies. Kids that are raised on a working farm,
Yeah.
they work. It's just part of who you are.
Yeah. That's
Work
true.
ethic is really just etched into you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like my dad said, I never had to drive to work. I just walked out the door and it found me.
Yeah. It was it was there.
Yeah.
It's like you're part of it 24/7.
Oh, absolutely. And I swore that I would never, ever, ever have a dairy farm, because and we did, obviously. We had a little dairy, and we milked by hand. And it's so limiting. And you have to be there every day, twice a day. And so that was one thing that I swore that I would never do. But
Yeah.
and I was successful in keeping that promise to myself.
Okay, well that's good. So what about your family? I mean, your immediate family today.
I have.
What's that? What does that look
I
like?
have 5 children. I have 2 sons that actually we have a small manufacturing company.
Oh.
My oldest son, Jay, runs the company, and then my youngest son, he is the salesperson for that company. And then I have 3 daughters, Jamie, and she has a degree in mechanical engineering, and she sells real estate in Johnson County. And then my middle daughter is Ashley, and she is an artist and a horse trainer.
Wow.
And then my youngest daughter, Alexis, she came to my home when she was 10.
Okay.
And
wow.
that was a wonderful experience to go through.
Yeah.
And she is now 28, doing wonderfully. She works at the Japanese, do you want to call it a barbecue, at 159th and Antioch. And it's she's delightful.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful young woman.
Well,
So I just have incredible kids, and then I have 7 grandkids.
wow. That's a pretty diverse, large family, really. Okay.
And then I was a general contractor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are you manufacturing right now?
Casino chips.
Casino chips. Wow.
We ship them all over the world.
What's your strength or your achievements that qualifies you for Kansas governor?
I think the path that I have walked. I have a degree in education, so I homeschooled. I have small business experience. I've been in an elected position. I was in the state house as the representative for the 23rd District in 2011 and 2012.
Oh, my.
I was the Johnson County Commission for the 3rd District up there from 21 to 25. And so I have that diverse opportunity of having all that experience that I can bring to the job. And I understand the pain of having to pay these high taxes and what it means. And I've watched how this corporate welfare has gone from occasional to just common practice. And it's like these cities and the counties, they're constantly going after the next big thing instead of looking back and taking care of who is here now. And it's eroding our tax base. I mean, when you divert $108 million in 1 year from the coffers of schools, cities, county, parks and rec, library, all of that, you're diverting $108 million in 1 year, and that was 2024, just in property tax through tax increment finance districts and in industrial revenue bonds. That's a problem. And the real problem is that the Republicans and the Democrats have converged on this issue. There's no one representing the people. And that is the voice that I'm bringing into the space. And boy, have I ruffled a lot of feathers.
Oh, I can imagine. You hit on a few topics there that neither of the establishment and neither of these parties care about what you just said. I mean,
they care
they're
a
part of the
lot
problem.
because that is their bread and butter. That's how their campaigns are financed.
Yeah, good point. Okay, that brings me to another just kind of a broad question here before we get too deep. What do you say to the man or the woman out there who on social media says or makes a statement or a comment that you're unelectable?
You know, it's really interesting. In Johnson County, I am conservative. And unfortunately in Johnson County, that is not a plus in many situations. But boy, do I play well in the rest of Kansas. And when I was out in western Kansas earlier in the month, people were they were flabbergasted that someone from Johnson County would speak the way that I speak. But I'm speaking from the position of being where the rubber hits the road and having to pay those bills and having to understand the concerns of the small business community, because that is my community. And they were really shocked. And no, it's really quite unbelievable that in Kansas that we've given up on the free market system and that equal protection under the law just doesn't exist when it comes to taxes.
Okay. All right. Here's another broad question I want to run by you. And these are kind of pointed questions in a way, but I just want your viewpoint on it. Okay. Let's say there's a young person out there, young, middle-aged, whatever, that has a problem with people who are seasoned, aged, okay, older. If they were to say, you're too old for the office, what do you say to those people?
I would say, come and walk 5 miles with me and then we'll talk about it. Or let's go out biking and ride 40 and then let's talk about it.
Okay.
I have been extremely blessed with very, very good health. And I'm extremely active, and I have really worked to bring more people into the process because it is very important. And I think that President Trump has really set the example of passing the flame to the next generation. And unfortunately, he's really the first president that I've seen do that, and I mean he has done that very intentionally. And when I go out and I speak, I really try to draw more people into the process because we do need younger blood coming into the Republican Party. It's really important, and it's really important that you get involved on the local level. That's really where you need to start. Your school boards, your city councils. And hey, I was at the Board of County Commission meeting this morning making public comments. If you in Garnett had 10 people that would go to a city council meeting or a school board meeting on a regular basis, believe you me, you would make a difference, because they simply are not used to hearing the squeaky wheel being, and the squeaky wheel will be oiled. But if you just sit back and just grouse about what's happening, well, it's just going to continue to happen. I'm very fortunate that I'm at the point that I am not involved in the day-to-day operations of our manufacturing company. My 2 industrial buildings, I have tenants that have been there for many years. So I have a stable base that I can go out and I can really devote myself to this. And so I'm just in that position and situation that I can do this.
Yeah. So you have an understanding for the middle, the middle-aged person or the young person who's just
Absolutely.
getting out there trying to make a living.
I have
and
my
raise a family.
kids.
Yeah.
I have my kids. In fact, my middle daughter, who's the artist, she brought her puppy over to play with my puppy. They're half siblings, and and her puppy is 2 weeks older than mine, and so yes, we discuss things and what is on her mind and what's happening. But I'm going to tell you, it's the same thing. I don't care whether you're in Johnson County,
It is.
in Manhattan, Riley County, or in Goodland. It's the same thing. Property taxes. Our taxes are too high. Leave us alone. Let us keep the money that we make. This is our money. Well, unfortunately, the government in Kansas doesn't view it that way. They view it that we'll leave you the cut that we think that you should have.
Yeah. That's a property taxation is
it's a taking of our property. It's a tax on unrealized gains.
Yeah.
And we have to do something about it. However, I have to tell you that we, the people of Kansas, brought this on ourselves in 1986 with the constitutional amendment that was passed in August of 1986, equalization and reclassification. Welcome.
I think that is one of many stepping stones from the original charter. Because if you go all the way back to the original charter in 1861, Article 11 was only 5 short paragraphs in length. And you're right.
That constitutional amendment in 1986, and then in the general election, what did we pass? Economic development.
Don't get me started on economic development.
Economic development.
Yeah, like the private sector doesn't drive the economy. We have to have help from the government to engineer. See, I'm not supposed to be ranting on this.
That's fine. Rant away.
I'll save that for another personal podcast. I'm not going to eat up your time.
I totally agree.
It's awful.
It is.
Destructive.
And it's very destructive. And it destroys equal protection under the law because it sets one set of rules for one set of people and one set of rules for the rest of us.
Yeah, and it's you can't just pinpoint one thing that it destroys. It's a very broad destruction. It's a multi-destructional implementation, and actually a lot of it comes out of the United Nations through economic development, and that's another problem.
Well, when you have a Chinese company, Sinano, come in to Johnson County, and we give them a $34 million industrial revenue bond, which is the code word for I'm not going to pay my fair share of taxes, and also they pay no sales tax on any of their construction materials.
No. They don't. What?
Hello. Yes.
I mean now sales tax, in my opinion, is a fair. It's commerce, a fair way of supporting and funding government.
They are tax exempt. They do not pay sales tax on their materials. And if it's a remodel job like is being proposed at the Mission Shopping Center at 71st and Mission, they have to pay sales tax on labor and materials, and they are asking for a tax exemption from both, which on that $23 million project will cost the state of Kansas approximately $1.5 million.
So when you say it'll cost the state of Kansas, you're saying taxpayers.
Yes, all the entire state, because we have a 6.5% sales tax, and that is not being paid.
Yeah.
That is being exempted.
Yeah, it comes all these exemptions that are unconstitutional. We're paying for. We're subsidizing them. It's not, the government is not like this separate entity. It's us.
Oh, exactly. Anytime there is a subsidy, just know that dollars are being taken out of your pocket.
So it's government picking and choosing winners or losers. We're the losers. They're the winners because they're being treated unequally.
Right.
They're
But
favored.
it is constitutional in the state of Kansas because we passed a constitutional amendment for economic development in 1986.
But I will say to the viewer out there that, the Constitution comes in a order of priority, starting with the original ordinance, followed by the preamble, followed by the 20 sections in the Bill of Rights. Everything after that must be pursuant to the preceding in the Constitution. They can't just create an amendment and have it violate the rights of the people in the Bill of Rights.
Well, so far they've been
It's in conflict.
So far they've been extremely successful, even though I've been yelling and screaming about this for years.
And you're right, though. You're actually telling them, you're calling them out. Basically, they created an amendment that is in conflict with the previous portions
because
of the
there's not equal
Constitution.
protection.
Exactly.
That is the bottom line. There is not equal protection. And I always tell people that I understand all of these tax incentives because I used one back in 2004. I went through the whole process. It was a 50,000 square foot addition that I put on one of my industrial buildings that I owned then, do not now. And boy, did I learn my lesson, because at the end of the 10 years, my tenant, who was there for the tax incentive, left. He built his own building, which, congratulations, glad you're successful. But the city of Olathe gave them another tax incentive. And so then I was left with an overbuilt building, lost money, lesson learned. The market works. There is a free market. Yeah. And what we have done in Kansas, I mean, not only on the industrial side, but now we are giving tax incentives to the residential side. In Lenexa, we have 3,000 apartment units that are under either a tax increment finance district or an industrial revenue bond. So, I mean, it's becoming extremely, extremely problematic.
Yeah. And we could probably have just one podcast on that alone. So what I'm going to do is, I'm before I get really heated here, I'm going to go
He's
ahead
going to
and move
shift. All right.
We're going to shift.
What key are we playing in?
Oh my gosh, the key of D minor.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Is the media and your party, let me put it this way, your party,
our party,
and our party and the media, are they keeping you out of view by chance?
Oh, no. I have been getting all sorts of great media coverage.
Okay.
I even had a Kansas Public Radio interview me.
Really?
Yes.
NPR? Kansas Public Radio, yeah. Okay.
Out of KU.
That normally is considered a subsidized liberal
Well, it is.
radio station.
But you know why he wanted to talk to me about? Tax incentives.
Really? Okay, what would their position be then?
I think that they're concerned about it.
Okay.
So again, see, that's where conservatives and liberals can meet on issues. Actually, I have a theory that the political spectrum is not linear; it's actually circular, and that the conservatives and the true liberals, the true conservatives and the true liberals, they meet on the backside of the moon.
Yeah.
And that would be on the concern about food and going to organic grocery stores,
Right.
alternative medicine. And you will find extremely conservative people and you will find extremely liberal people there.
Yeah.
And so, and perhaps tax incentives is another place that we can touch. And it's really interesting that as the mainstream Democrat Party really turns their back on environmental issues, as they have with the solar farms and the wind farms, and I don't know if you read my column on the broken NextEra came to town.
I was going to touch on that later.
Okay.
To get your viewpoint, but go ahead.
Well, so did you read my column on that?
I think I did. Yeah, and that's
And-
where I got to. That's where where I came up with this question later
And wasn't
on.
and wasn't that rendition of that photo that Tim McCabe did was just shocking, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was
Yeah.
just shocking. So I met these folks in this little town, and NextEra had come in, and they put in all of these wind towers and
Turbines,
yeah,
yeah.
the turbines, and it is just absolutely raped that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took me on to a solar farm that had been in place for 10 years. There was oil running down the main structure of those and down the blades. And the picture that was rendered on the top of that column, that wind turbine had broken.
Yeah,
And it flung fiberglass 2,000 feet.
really.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it was quite the experience for me. Ellen and Bob, they took me around on a tour, and it was really, really eye-opening. And see, that's the kind of thing that I'm finding. I was opposed to wind farms before, but I mean, what they're doing to the landscape and rural America is being industrialized. And who came up with the idea of property tax exemptions for alternative energy?
Well, see, that's again, that's playing favorites. But yeah, who did it?
Who did it? Who did it?
Obama. Let's see. No, was it a Republican?
I mean, in Kansas.
Oh, in Kansas. The governor.
Trivia. Yeah. Trivia.
Who was it exactly?
Bill Graves.
It goes that far back. Mm-hmm. Bill Graves.
100% forever. And then it was changed to 10 years in 2015 under Brownback.
Oh, well, don't get me started on those. Yeah.
Yeah, but 100% on all alternative generative facilities. 100%.
I did not realize it went that far back.
I think it was 1999.
And you're talking, both Democrats and Republicans.
Again, converging on an issue.
Yeah.
And this is all about putting money into pockets of very
special interests.
Yes, very, very wealthy investors.
Anyone, that's the problem with campaign finance, for one thing, is that unless you, well, let me put it this way: it's better to run on your own money if you have it, and if you can win that way, than to take money.
Oh,
from
you can't.
these people.
You can't take the well. No,
because you owe them.
Believe you me. There will be no checks written from that sector to me because they know where I stand on this issue. And I know that the first tier of candidates, if Scott Schwab stays in the race, since he announced that he is suffering from cancer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he did. He announced that like last week, and prayers to him and his family.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Collier is looking at the race.
Oh, he is. Okay.
And then Ty Masterson. Now those folks, they're all in with the chamber and the
Yeah.
chamber and Koch Industries. They're all one in the same now, and those two entities, they supported open borders, and they support all of these tax incentives for these alternative energies, the wind turbines and the solar fields. And then we get into the lithium storage battery plants, which are highly flammable. And I think everyone should go out and read about Moss Landing, which is about 60 miles south of San Francisco. And that fire, I think it was the 16th of January, burned for 2 weeks. They didn't even try to put it out. And the contamination around that area now is really is huge. And we had one closer to home in Frederickstown, Missouri, which was a recycling of lithium batteries. And that one also burnt for 2 weeks, but the local fire department tried to use foam to contain it. And guess what happened? A 3-mile-long fish kill.
Wow.
Look it up. And that happened, that might have been in October. This was recent. These are two recent things. And it's a mess. It's a mess. And what they're doing is that they're building all of this, chasing the government dollars. Because none of this would be in place. No wind farms, there'd be no solar farms, because the only reason that they exist, and President Trump has talked about this, it's because of the subsidies.
Yeah.
So it's not only the property tax subsidies, but it's like they get tax credits from the federal government, and that just has to stop.
Yeah, it's not like something that the people want.
No.
I mean, I would rather see a nuke plant.
Oh, absolutely.
The amount of power that's generated by these, really, they're, people think of these spent cells as these humongous radioactive things. I'm sorry, but that's not true. And the amount of energy output, clean energy output, is far outweighs what these alternative energy commercialized, like the solar, commercialized solar, commercialized turbines.
Right.
It's a waste of money. And they have to subsidize it because they
doesn't
don't work.
Right. They don't work. They would totally fail in a free market.
Yeah. And think of the concrete and
absolutely.
rebar
Absolutely.
in the soil.
Oh, yeah.
And the heat generated from that concrete. It destroys the land. And then the solar panels, being black as they are, heats up the atmosphere.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
I know.
Okay, now I want to read this. This actually comes from you. And I'm going to quote you here. Okay, retreat or not to retreat? That is the question. She's doing Shakespeare here. Okay. National Republican Congressional Committee Chair Richard Hudson, RNC, told House Republicans at a closed-door conference meeting Tuesday morning that members should opt for teletown halls or live-streamed events that can reach more people rather than in-person town halls that can be hijacked by Democrat activists. Okay, I never say Democratic because, they're Democrats. This edict came after Senator Roger Marshall, Republican of Kansas, held a town hall meeting in Oakley, Kansas, Saturday, March 1st, which was interrupted by vocal Democrats. I saw that, by the way. I vehemently disagree with Mr. Hudson. I think you have 4 exclamation points there. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to break the microphone. Running from bullies is not a strategy. It's an act of cowardice. My opinion. Double down, hold more town halls. This will simply showcase the Soros Democrat leftists' bad behavior. Run from them and you will declare victory. I've always been hard on the Republican Party establishment because that's exactly what they've always done for decades is they continue to run, they continue to tolerate, they continue to compromise.
All of us did. We all had this attitude. I don't know if I did, but
I doubt it.
But
from what I can tell.
But yeah, I kind of stand my ground. But when you give way, and a lot of people thought, well, we'll just move over a little bit here. We'll just move over just a little bit here.
Yeah.
We'll just give them room. They'll grow up someday. We'll get this figured out. And that is the birth of the cancel culture. And that is where we have just started to emerge from. And now the Republican leadership is suggesting that we go back to it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that most conservatives, now I'm going to be hard on so-called conservatives, uppercase C conservatives. I don't think all of them understand what it means to be a conservative. What are we conserving? We're supposed to be conserving the letter of the law written in the Constitution, starting at the beginning through the end, in that order. And I think they miss that point, and they think they have to be tolerant of all this
there's a
mumble jumble Marxist
there's a big difference between being being harsh and being kind.
Yeah.
You can be kind, but that doesn't mean that you're going to step aside. It's just going to be, I disagree with you. I disagree with you, and I am not going to accept that.
Right. And I think, let's see, who was it? Somebody famous. I think it was Jesus Christ. Didn't he make a whip and go into the temple,
He did.
turn over tables,
Yes, he
and whip
did.
some people to shoo them out? I don't want to make this a religious thing, but
And
but
why
it
not?
is true
And why not?
sometimes.
Our nation was founded on Christianity.
Yeah.
So why run from that?
Yeah. Well, if you read our preamble, it doesn't use the word Jesus, but it does use the word Almighty God.
Yes.
So I think that
It's a Judeo-Christian tradition is what our country is built on. I would really suggest all of you go out and buy the Founder's Bible. It's a King James.
Yeah.
And it's the Wall Builders has it. And I'm actually Catholic. I'm a convert to Catholicism. I studied my way into it. But I still love my King James Version Bible, and that Founder's Bible is full of founding documents. And it is so valuable. Do you have one?
I do not have one. Can
you need
you buy
one.
me one?
No?
Oh,
You can buy one yourself.
I will get one.
It is just absolutely amazing, and it really helps fortify you in an understanding how our Constitution was built.
Yeah, it's true. There's a direct lineage to that. There's a foundational
Oh, absolutely.
beginning to our union here. So yeah, I agree with that.
See, we're just finding so many points of agreement.
I know I can't say publicly that I support your candidacy. I have to remain neutral. Sorry.
Oh, it's quite obvious.
But I do like what you're saying.
I was going to say, it's quite obvious you like me. Next.
Okay, now next question. You're going to love this because I wanted to kind of create a segue into this next question.